Hey guys, welcome back to the Taekwondo Practical Application playlist. We're going to look at high red belt, and today we're going to talk about double Escrima, so two sticks. What I don't want to do is I don't want to break down counts, like, you know, this is the 10 count here, boom. I have a video that does that. If you look at the weapons playlist, you know, we can look at a double Escrima. What I want to talk about is why it is practical to train this, because what isn't likely is someone that is going to come up and they're going to have two sticks and you're going to have two sticks and you're going to get into a two-stick, you know, battle here. Or if they're unarmed and you got two sticks and you're going to wail on them. But what could happen is you could get into something and you could be trying to use something as an Escrima stick, because the great thing about working with Escrima sticks is everything can be an Escrima stick, right? But you might get disabled, or you might not lose this hand, but you know, you might not be able to use it, and you have to, you know, start working these from the offside. And having the ability to have trained with the offhand, that's really helpful. What's nice too about the double Escrima stick is if you have a friend, which I don't, you both do these counts at the same time, you can work on hitting each other's sticks, and you're doing that same thing. You're developing where to put snap, you're working on targeting, but you're just getting comfortable with the weapon in the offhand. And that is really the point of these exercises, you know, doing this. So a lot of times if, you know, I'm bored, I'm out, I just want to work the bag, I'll get my Escrimas out and I'll just, you know, kind of work here, and I'll work on, you know, what if I'm targeting there versus here, you know, and where to, you know, change, etc. Like if I'm thinking about that's my first two movements of 10, I could do something like that, you know, changing that around. We've talked about, you know, changing modes and whatnot. Another great thing to do is I have a weapons background that's pretty far reaching. I've done, you know, kendo, I've done fencing, I've done the Cold Steel Challenge, where we, you know, worked with, you know, the knives and the spears and things of that nature. But I've also done the SCA. The SCA is where you dress like a big knight. You put on medieval armor, you get Escrima sticks that are a lot thicker around than that, and you get a shield, and you go and you beat on each other. And what's great about that is I really like a weapon style that's not, you know, two weapons, but a defensive and an offensive. And, you know, thinking about putting that shield in my opponent, and then, you know, working my counts and my things from here, you know, working that chicken wing, or using this one now as my shield and wrapping around. That, I think, makes a lot more sense than how we usually see two weapons. When we see, like, you know, Escrima and, you know, doing the Senwali and things like that, like, it's really cool. If you get into fire spinning, it's an awesome technique. Practicality for self-defense isn't as practical with the sticks. Now, you can do those motions with your empty hand, and you get into like a Wing Chun type of thing, and it actually, you know, can be pretty effective. But it's unlikely, unless they know you're coming and you know you're coming and you've agreed to Escrima sticks at dawn, it's unlikely that some lights going out over there. We're in strobe techno. It's unlikely that you would come into a double Escrima stick self-defense situation without some planning. So what I like to do is I like to get my sticks, and I'll start my counts, and maybe one time I'll start, you know, I'm going to start on the right, and I'm just going to work through, you know, and work these counts. Go. And then I'll start on the other side, right? You know, I'm just kind of working through. And I mess up a little bit, especially with the left lead. Oh, that would be that way. You know, and just working them through and kind of getting an idea of what the weight of the weapon is, where to target, and then I like to get in and kind of change motion around, right? Think about where my targets would be if I move in here. So something like that. I'm gonna fix that light really quick. Let there be light. So yeah, and we've talked about before that you can use this with, you know, any weapons here that make sense to you, right? You can use it with nunchucks, you can use it with long weapons, short weapons. You can start doing like empty hand, but the thing about, you know, doing empty hand stuff with stuff that's supposed to be Escrima, you end up with weapons you attack on angles like quite a bit. So you have to kind of, you know, work in like, oh, I would probably do a straight punch there, right? You know, boom, boom, boom. Those different things. So I think regular boxing combinations make more sense than stick counts. But every time I hear like stick counts aren't a realistic way to train weapons, what is a realistic way to train weapons, right? Go into combat, like that's not going to happen. So stick counts I think is good. And then I also have a video out that's called I think it's called the Octave System, and it's about, you know, using those different motions of like a stop sign for blocking, and then how you can also come off of those into attacks. That's like a fencing kind of philosophy for doing sword stuff. That's really good. Basically, if you train something with intent, you can make it practical. So what we'll do is we'll start kind of putting all this stuff together. The next one of these I'll put out is on recommended black belt, and we'll just try to start looking at like basics, like, you know, what these blocking motions in traditional martial arts, how you can use them practically, and look at some of the adages like every block is a strike and every strike is a block, you know, some of those type of things, and what like the intent of blocking should be, and kind of why blocking is stupid. So look forward to that next month.